Welcome to Your Next Stop. This is Juliette Hahn. I am a wife, mom, virtual coach, public speaker, and crazy obsessed dog lover. I am so honored to be able to take you into the life of someone that has followed a passion. Every week, I hope you are as inspired as I am. Welcome to Your Next Stop. Hey guys, welcome to Your Next Stop. I am pumped, which I say every episode, right? But every episode, I love tapping in to another story of a woman that has followed a passion. And I'm going to introduce Leeanna Gantt. Hold on. I got to tell my editor. Odie, just hold on one second. So I want to introduce you guys to my guest. It's Leeanna Gantt, and she is the founder of TookTake. And I can't wait for you guys to hear this story. And I just want to welcome you, Leeanna.
Hi, so nice to see you.
You too. So question, did we meet on LinkedIn? Is that where we met?
Yeah.
Okay, it was LinkedIn. Yeah. So my guests know a lot of times I find people on Clubhouse. That was for a long time. I had a string of Clubhouse guests, and then I had a lot of string of LinkedIn. So I love that. So I would love, I know a little bit about your story. I actually have some of your samples here. And before I show them, I would love for you to just tell us your story. How did you become an entrepreneur and go into business for yourself?
Well, I started TookTake actually, strangely, during my chemotherapy treatment for breast cancer. I was in treatment and I had to take a ton of different medications to manage all the side effects, but most of them weren't pills. And it was driving my family crazy because we couldn't keep track of anything and everything was on a different schedule. So we came up with this little system and I started making labels. And my husband and I are both designers. We both worked in advertising before this. And so we just kind of kept playing around with it as something to do while I was stuck in bed during treatment. And by the time I was done at the end of the year, we were like, I really think this is kind of cool. I think we could help a lot of people if we put this out there. So that's how we started.
That's how you started.
Yeah.
Okay. So, that's, and you're cancer-free?
Cancer-free now.
Oh, that's wonderful. How many years?
3.
Wonderful. All right. Well, congratulations on that, because I know that's so important. So I would love for you to take us back. So so you were in advertising, what, did you go to university? Give us the backstory of who you are. And then, again, I would like to dive a little bit into TookTake.
Yeah, well, I originally went to college to be a marine biology major, but I get really seasick. So after a few years, I finally gave in and decided this is not going away and this is a bad career choice.
Oh my gosh. So wait, I want to pause that. That's actually, that's kind of ironical and not funny, but it is funny.
It really
is. Did you want to go into marine biology because you love animals, or you wanted to save the ocean? Give us a little bit about that. But that's, God's universe, the universe, he did not want you to do that for, whatever reason.
I grew up in California by the beach, and I just loved the beach. And my favorite classes in high school, we actually had a marine biology department, and I was on a group that got a research grant. So we'd been studying the bay for years. And so I just thought, this is what I'm supposed to do. But I didn't realize most of what we'd done was from the beach. And then when I started having to go on research boats, I realized, wow, this is a problem. I knew I got seasick, but I thought it might just go away. So,
right. That's hard though, because, and I love that because I love the ocean too. We live right by the ocean as well in New York, and it's my favorite place. I find such peace and I just love it. So was that hard? When you realized, or was it kind of okay, I'll figure something else out? Or was it did you feel down? What was that feeling when you realized, okay, this is not the choice for me, because I being seasick sucks.
It really does. I was really sad because from high school on, I was like, this is what I'm going to do. I'm so lucky. I know what I want to do and I enjoy it. And then it was gone. And I was like, okay, well, what's another thing I like to do? Because this one's really not making me too happy. So I switched and became an art major. I'd always liked art, and I had gone to college as a science major with an art minor, but it was just general art, more for fun. Okay. So I switched schools and I went to a school called Art Center College of Design that's out here in California. And it's a really small school, but it's a really good school. And I thought I wanted to be a graphic designer, but it turned out I was really much better at advertising. So I went into that and I really liked that as well. I thought it was a good job for me. It's a lot of problem solving and I still got to do art. So it was a really great job. I love that too.
Right. Because it tapped into your creative, right? It tapped into something that you were passionate about, which I love. And so, okay. So how long were you in advertising before you became ill?
Well, I was a creative director in advertising for probably about 10 years. And then I'd been freelancing after I had my daughter. So I was kind of going in and out of that. That was probably another 8 or 9 years. And then, when I got sick, we were still doing advertising work, but I kind of knew that it wasn't what I wanted to be doing anymore. Advertising's changed so much.
Oh my gosh, my husband's in advertising, but he's in advertising sales. And that is, the entire industry. It is crazy. We actually were just talking about it the other day. I'm going to interject for a second, but he worked for Discovery Channel on the ad sales side. And what that was to what it is now is completely different. It's really crazy. And it was, for a while, it was sad to see it kind of change because when he was young, what advertising in that industry gave him was, so much. The travel, just the people that he met and just so many cool things. We actually met in advertising as well at our jobs, in the city. So it was really kind of a sad process as you saw it change. And now it's definitely cool. There's different things and more things have opened up, at the time where everyone was buying each other and you were like, oh my gosh, where can, all these guys go that have been working in this industry forever. So it definitely was a scary time for a while.
Yeah. It was completely different. Even just the way we did advertising, not just now there's the internet, but just, it was print and magazine and campaign. It was just a whole different animal. And I found it to be much more creative and a more realistic pace. So, as years went on and things changed, we adapted and there were, like you said, there were some good things and exciting parts, but for the most part, when I got to take a break and step away from it, I realized I don't want to go back to that. I don't have that in me. I don't enjoy it. So.
Right. And that's so important. This is what this podcast is about. It's really about, people finding their passion and turning it into a career or finding their purpose. And I know when we spoke, at first you were like, well, it wasn't that I followed a passion per se, right? Mm-hmm. I found this because of a tragedy, right? Something that you were going through. Yeah. But as we talked, you could hear that it is now a passion, right?
Oh,
this
definitely.
is a passion of yours. So you had your daughter, you kind of were doing freelance and then you decided you got sick and I would love, do you have any samples in front of you? I do.
Yeah, I should. That would be really smart, wouldn't it?
No, well, I didn't say that, but so this is what's cool. So this will be on YouTube, but people that are listening are going to be like, wait, I can't see. It's, and so I'm going to have you kind of explain because I'm going to open the package, but it's really cool. So why don't you take us, as I get this undone, why don't you take us through what you were doing and how many pills you had to take and all the different treatments you had to do and that you and your husband and, family had to kind of deal with. And so how did it all of a sudden, was it boom, this is it. This is what we need to then put out to market.
Yeah. I think part of it was during chemotherapy. The chemo itself is it's self-contained. The medication is all for the side effects. And I had mouthwash and there's pain medications, anti-nausea medications. You have to take antihistamines with the kind of chemo I had. And Aleve, but everything's on a different schedule, and a lot of them are as needed. And the problem with as needed medication is when you need it right then. So if I was feeling really nauseous, I'd reach over and take an anti-nausea medicine, but you can't take it again for 4 hours. So then in a few hours, I'd be feeling terrible. My husband's like, well, take your medicine. I'm like, well, I don't know when I took it. So then we'd have to kind of guess and wait. And same with the pain medicine. And the liquid medicines, there was just no way to track them to know. So if the doctor said, well, how often are you using this? I had no idea. So we really wanted to be able to answer the doctor's questions so that they could help treat me better and help figure out if I was doing the right things. And it was impossible because couldn't remember and couldn't keep track. And we tried writing things down, but it was just kind of messy because everything was, written in like a list. So you'd have to go back and count. So finally I just started going, okay, we're just going to label the bottles. And it started with just sticky notes, just stuck to them with our notes on them. And I was like, well, there must be an even easier way. And like, because I was stuck in bed for 6 months, so I had a lot of time to ponder these simple tasks.
Right.
So we just started adapting it.
Right. So I have them here. So you have, this is what's really cool. And I love the new packaging. I think it's really, it's awesome. So you have the daily one, which obviously why don't you self-explain that? So that's there. And guys that are listening to this, you can always go over to YouTube and see this later. But it basically is, it's a little, go ahead. It's a label, like a sticker that you'd stick on any kind of medication that you're taking or need to take, or any vitamins. I use it on my collagen powder too, just because I kept forgetting to put it in my tea. But basically there's little tabs on the label and they have the days of the week on them. So when you take or use your medication, you just pull the tab off when you do it. So then when you look back later and go, oh, did I take my vitamins this morning or my medicine this morning? You look and go, oh yeah, I did, because the tab is gone. Or if you see the tab there, you did not do it, and then you have to do it. So it also stops you from taking too much or too little of your medicine, which is a problem because a lot of people, if they don't remember if they took something that they have to take every day, they just skip it because they're afraid of taking too much. But certain medications, if you don't take them on time, you can actually have really bad side effects from that as well. So that's super helpful. Yeah. And then you have this one, which is the hourly one, is as you were saying before, like if you took the anti-nausea and you didn't remember how many, so you have this one, which is really cool. So you want to explain that a little bit?
Yeah, the hourly basically has tabs for all 24 hours of the day. One side is light blue and the other side's dark blue for day and night. And you just pull the tab off. With that one, I actually, like, moms love this one for children's like cold medicine and children's Tylenol, because you always need it in the middle of the night when your kid wakes up crying or something. So I always suggest just stick it on the new bottle when you get it. So that way, when you get up in the middle of the night, you're not also looking for the labels. It's just on the bottle. You get up, you give them a dose, you pull the tab off. That way, everyone else in the house knows what time you gave the little ones the medicine, so they can help and don't have to wake you up. And there's also a cheat for those that I like to tell people. These tabs are reusable. Like, you can stick them back on. So especially with that one, it's pretty handy because there's so many hours. So when you get to the end of the 24-hour period, you can kind of just place those tabs back in their little slots and use that label again until they're just not sticking well. So it's a pretty good value too. And there's 4 in every pack of TookTake, so that would last you quite a while.
Right. And I know, because I know when we chatted really quickly, you were also talking about like acne medicine for like a teen. So you also don't have to like be on your teen. So why don't you explain that a little bit too? Because I think that's great. Because I know we all, anyone that's listening to this have teenagers, and if they have acne and they, go to dermatologists, they'll tell them, okay, take this in the morning and this at night. And you take this every 3 days it is a lot to remember.
Gotten this acne, we went to the dermatologist, and she'd gotten these 2 lotions, and one was for the morning and one was for night. And after a few weeks, she was like, they're not working. These are done, teenager thing. And they're really expensive because insurance never covers any of that stuff. And so I was like, well, did you really use them like every morning and every night? She's like, well, maybe. No, I don't know. And I was like, okay, well, so we had the samples of the labels in. So I'm like, try this, put this on the lotion tubes, and that way you'll know if you did it or not. So she did it, and lo and behold, the medicine worked.
Which is right. I mean, that's the thing. It is one of those, because we were talking about that teens. I was like, oh, we went through the same thing, and it was like, well, are you really? And it was like, well, I'm using that, but then I'm getting dry. And so I'm then using the other one, and I don't remember. And it was like, okay, this is perfect for that, because it's like, okay, I did use that today. Let's do this for a couple of days and see, is that what's drying you? Or let's see which one is drying you. So it was actually, it's a really great thing. And is there other, so we talked about vitamins, kid medicine, teenagers with, acne, chemo, obviously. Is there anything else that people have come to you to say that they're using them for? And you're like, oh, wait, I didn't think about that.
Yeah, I think, a lot of people use them for pets. When we first launched, our customers were all pet owners. And I was like, did I just totally miss the boat on this? Like, we had used it for our dog when she had an ear infection for her eardrops, but I was like, well, that's not the main use for these. I'm just using it because it's handy. So that surprised me at first. Now we have a lot more people using it for themselves than pet owners, but we have a lot of pet owners. And the best use I heard was someone sent me a picture. Their daughter had gotten her ears pierced at Claire's. They give you the ear solution. Yeah. And she had told her daughter she needed to be responsible for it. And she didn't want to keep asking her and making her think, that she was doubting she was doing it. So she put her TookTake labels on the ear wash and told her, like, do the tabs and then we'll know for sure. And she said it helped her daughter and it helped her because she didn't have to keep, checking in. She could give her daughter that sort of autonomy to go do it herself and prove that she could do it. And I thought that was really smart.
That is really smart because actually that just brought two minds. I mean, I had told you we have boxers, as my listeners know. And I've had two that had cardiomyopathy, which is a heart condition. And they were taking, up to almost 24 pills a day.
Oh, wow.
So, I was the one that was pretty much mainly doing it. My husband would feed them as well at times, and sometimes the kids. But I would always, be like, okay, if I didn't feed them, did you guys feed them? Did you give them medicine? It would be like, yes, of course. There would be times where like, ooh, I think I gave them that one. And it was like, oh, and heart medicine's really important. Yeah. So, and even if there's times in the morning, because when you're feeding your dogs in the morning, I, would just throw their medicine in and I would like put it on the counter and I would put the bottle down. And then I would be like, after I gave it to them, I'm like, wait, did I give them this one? Oh, I don't remember. And it didn't happen often because I was very meticulous when I was doing it. But there was a couple times where I was like, shit, yep. I don't remember if I did this. And if I don't want to give it to him, because if he has too much, that's not good. Because, but then if he doesn't have it. So it was, I was like, this would have, hopefully I don't have any more boxers that have heart conditions. And he is unfortunately no longer with us, my boy. And I'm not going to get into it because the last bunch of episodes I've gotten into it and I've actually gotten emotional. And so my listeners will be like, wow, third episode. Today I'm feeling okay. I feel him in a very happy way today. But it would have been a really helpful thing. And then my daughter also got her ears pierced a number of years ago, and we were using the ear wash, and she actually one of her ears got infected because I kept forgetting. And then she was young and she kept forgetting. And I was like, oh my gosh, your ear. And she said, Mommy, my ear hurts. And I'm like, oh, you're fine. And then she came home from school one day and it was like really red. And I was like, oh my gosh. I think we only did it one yesterday. So that would have been a perfect thing where to give her that she was old enough to be responsible, but at least she and I could have done it together and had it where it's just like, we're pulling that off. So she has been asking again to get her ears pierced, and I'm totally going to use a TookTake. I love that.
Yeah.
It's really.
Yeah. And I find like when I was in chemo, my whole job was to kind of keep track of these medicines, and I still had a hard time, but soon as I was out of treatment and kind of getting back into regular activities, that's when I had the hardest time because I had one thing I had to take. And it's like you said, it's on the kitchen counter. I'd grab it in the morning, but then 10 minutes later I turn around. I'm like, ooh, did I take that? Or did I just think about taking it? Or was that yesterday that I'm thinking of? Because when you have to do the same thing every day, it's just, you can forget.
Sometimes you forget. Totally.
It's not your whole focus anymore. It's just like, oh, I need to take this vitamin, or I need to take this medicine, or use this. And if it's not, you're not just immersed in your illness, you've got other things going on.
Right. Which brings a really good point up, because that's what I also want to ask you next. So you were using the sticky notes at first. And then, so after you became cancer free is when you guys dove into this business. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Right. Cause I was going to say, wow, that would have been a lot. And then, so it's your husband and you guys sat down and did you, how long did it come for you guys to kind of come up with the strips and not the idea, cause you already had the idea, but how it was going to lay out, or did that come pretty quickly and easily?
It came pretty easily because we would just kind of work on it while I was in treatment. I started printing them out and testing them because I think it gave me something to look forward to at the end of treatment, that it's like, oh, I might do this business. And when I first started saying it, I was kind of like, oh, it's just something for me to do to give me something to focus on. But then the further we got into it, I was like, started cutting them out and testing them and saying, well, this should be round. It's too hard to peel off, or this is too sticky. It's getting too stuck, but now this is falling off of things. I want to be able to throw it in my purse if I need to. And so like we had a year to really refine it with,
right.
My family doing all the testing and trying things out. So by the time I was done, it was pretty dialed in. And then it was just trying to find somebody who could actually make what we had designed. I thought, it's essentially a sticker. There's a million sticker printers out there, but it's actually really hard to print. We found we had I think I had over 20 printers turn down the job.
Wow. That's interesting. So then you were able to find someone that does it and you have a good relationship with them. I mean, have you had to change printers at all during like the times? Like, has there been like a big hiccup that it was like, oh my gosh, or has it just gone pretty smoothly? I know like entrepreneurs love to hear that.
Right now, we cannot actually find another printer. It took this printer probably 6 months to actually figure it out, and nobody else wants to go through that. So,
right.
Everyone's like, oh yeah, this is so easy. And then they try and then they call me back and say, no, sorry. So I think we love our printer, which is awesome. And we're happy. We just got into some big retail stores. So scaling up has been, a challenge because we can't change vendors or anything. So they're just trying to figure out how they're going to keep up with that right now.
I mean, that must be exciting for them to see that you guys are growing and knowing that they're getting more business. So can you share with us the retailers? So
we're going to be in Walmart at the end of the month.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so I'm really excited. And then we're going to be in CVS in January.
That is awesome. So now were those, again, because I know like we have, people listening that are entrepreneurs that possibly have like an idea in their minds that they're like, okay, well, how do you go about it? So when you were doing this, you were doing mostly online, I'm assuming. So you had your website. Do you want to shout that out so people can go check that out?
We're at TookTake.com.
Yep. And that's TookTake.com. Okay, perfect. So that's where you started. And then how quickly were you guys like, okay, we want to start getting into stores, and how did you create that relationship with like CVS and Walmart? Can you take us through that process a little bit?
Yeah. At first we launched our website, but I always thought people need to have this where they get their vitamins and medicine the most. So that's pharmacies. So we launched in like July of 2019. So I started talking to pharmacies and finding out how that whole process works, because I had no background in that. So that was a pretty steep learning curve. And just as we started talking to a distributor, because we found that was probably the best way for us to get into a lot of pharmacies, COVID happened.
Right.
So in the middle of those negotiations, they shifted to COVID management because that's what they do, and they were helping with that. So they just said, check back with us later. So we had to pivot and then redo our website and really make it really for consumers, because we had kind of put it up thinking, well, it's there and we have it, and we kept it really simple. But our primary focus, like, this is informational. We want people to go to the pharmacy. So then we had to change all our messaging and say like, no, buy it here because you can't get it anywhere else.
Right.
And then we pretty much focused on that through all of COVID because there wasn't any other options. And then Walmart put out a thing earlier this year for something called Open Call USA. And anybody can apply who has a US made and manufactured product. So we're made here in the US, we're packed and everything in California. So we applied, and it's really simple. You just write what you're doing and tell your story. And then if they select your product, they set up a meeting for you with a buyer, which is huge, because finding the right department and the right buyer at Walmart is crazy. And then actually getting a meeting with them I thought it was impossible. But if you get in through this open call, they actually connect you with your buyer and set up a half an hour meeting. So
that's very cool.
It was awesome. And they have all kinds of little like webinars beforehand to tell you what to expect and let you ask questions. So I went in and we did it on Zoom because of COVID. And she was great. Our buyer asked questions and listened to the story and then asked technical questions about, if we could meet their demands. And originally we were actually told that we had just missed their department's deadline for the year, that they had closed it 2 weeks before. So she's like, but I'll put you in for 2022 and for October of 2022. And I was like, great, I'm going to be in Walmart. And then, so I was super happy and I'm like, great, I've got over a year to figure this out. And then she called back. She actually called and was like, I went and talked to my boss and we're going to redo our plan and we're going to stick you in. But
that's amazing.
You get 3 months less than everybody else because they were notified a long time ago and you're actually behind now. Can you be ready this October? And I'm like, of course, sure. No idea what I was agreeing to, but we did it.
You did it. Well, that's the things. I think sometimes, especially in entrepreneurship, you have to say yes when you don't know what's going to happen, because the opportunity is most likely not going to happen again. So you have to figure it out. And that's like where you're putting fires out and it's like balls to the walls and everyone, like every man in, and you figure it out. Right. And especially if it's meant to happen, you're going to go through the ups and downs, but you're going to figure it out. So that's amazing. So next month you will be in Walmart. So you guys can go definitely check it out and you can see the awesome new packaging, and it even gives you a little description in the back. And there's tell them again how many different.
We have 3 different varieties of TookTake right now. And there's 4 labels per package. Each package sells for $4.99. So if you take something once a day and you're using the daily labels, it'll last you for 2 months.
Got it. That's great. That's good to know.
Yeah.
Yes. And then how did the CVS thing happen? Because obviously you were talking to them, for the pharmacy.
Yeah, I mean, that was a longer process. I actually participated in an event. It was like an online, like, beauty and wellness event where you could pay to present your brand during COVID. So I did that because I was just trying to get awareness of the product. And the buyer from CVS was actually at the event. I didn't know it. Like, she was watching and she emailed me afterwards because her daughter happened to have just gotten a prescription for antibiotics. And she was like, I need that 7 to 10 day label. She needs to take these for 10 days. And I've already messed it up. And so like, I overnighted some to her. So I was like, and here's some other samples. And she was like, great, I'll talk to you more about this later. And then she did. I was really,
and that's where, this is what's so important. And this is what I want my listeners to hear. It's because you had a product that solved a problem for someone, right? There was a need for it and you solved the problem. And so of course she saw what, like, it helped her and she was like, oh my God, other people need this, right? Because a lot of times people think, especially right now where the world is completely upside down, there are still really good people in the world and we all want to lift each other up and help each other. So she saw like, oh my gosh, this helped me. I want to be a help, others, where you created this product because it helped you through it. And so you want to help other people that, to make their lives a little easier, which we all could use, right? Every single person can take one thing off their plate that can help a little bit and clear their mind. I mean, that's what this really does. It really gives you that clear mind where you're not like, even like you're not so over focused and then you're like, oh, did I do it? Did I not do it? Because it is like an anxious time, especially for someone that's sick, right? You want to make sure you're doing the right thing at the right time. So this gives you that tool to do it. So it's a really beautiful product. And, I really commend you guys.
Thank you. Yeah. I'm really happy because I always felt like if I did start a business, I'd want it to not just be selling something like, so many products have stories, but a lot of them don't. And I'm like, I want to be a product that can help people. And I feel like it's doing that. And even if it just takes a little bit of worry out of someone's day, I think that's great. Like, people are they don't even have to be sick if they're just taking vitamins to stay healthy, to keep from getting, colds now that are going around like crazy and stuff. It's like, if that gives you peace of mind, I'm glad I could help.
Yeah, no, I love that. I love that. All right. Well, again, yell to everyone where they can find you guys. And yeah, go ahead.
TookTake.com, TookTake.com. At the end of the month, we'll be in not all Walmart stores, but a lot of Walmart stores. And we're also on Amazon, but we're
rather go to your
rather go to your support our retailers that we're trying to get into because they've been so nice to us. Honestly, they've been so helpful, and we really want to do well for them as well because they've it's been such a great journey as an entrepreneur, meeting these great people who are so supportive. So I want to, prove to them they made a good choice.
No, totally. I totally get it. So that's amazing. So, Leeanna, I just love what you're doing. I think it's amazing that you and your husband, found this, and that you're giving back to the community with a product that you created. So, Leeanna, thank you so much from TookTake. We appreciate you joining Your Next Stop. You guys, you know what to do. If you like what you heard, rate, review, subscribe, and share this episode. You might be sitting there going, oh, I don't take anything. But then you think about your aunt, your grandmom, your cousin, your niece, your nephew, your neighbor. Someone out there is either taking vitamins, as Leeanna said, or is sick and needs this, or has a dog that's sick. And this is just going to give them a little bit of relief in their day and something that's going to clear their brain because they just have to pull a label off. So thank you again, Leeanna. I appreciate it. I hope you liked this episode of Your Next Stop. Please subscribe to my channel, share with your friends, and join in each week.